It doesn't always play after Justin tells you there are a full list of candidates. It's playing because that is the sound of our next guest with lists. The fountains at the Villa d'Este from the third book of France lists his years of pilgrimage. Apt listening as tens of thousands of pilgrims travel to Rome to mark the death of Pope Francis. And many have been congregating in a very hot St. Peter's Square in calm, orderly queues to see Pope Francis lying in state in the Basilica. But pilgrimages come in all forms. And what can they give us? And why do people feel the pull, if they do? Stephen Hough is that renowned pianist who converted to Catholicism as a teenager and joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
And so does Emma Bridgewater, known for her eponymous ceramics manufacturing company. I think I was having a tea out one of your mugs yesterday. Is also a patron of the British Pilgrimage Trust. Good morning to you, Emma.
Good morning.
Stephen, just on that point around pilgrimages, the pull of it, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I think for human beings, places matter. We can look at Google Maps in our homes and look at different places, but I think the effort of actually going to somewhere which is special to us is a very important part of all human history.
And Emma, you've done this, I imagine, as a patron of the British Pilgrimage Trust. Tell us about your journey of journeys.
I was inspired by the British Pilgrimage Trust to finally step out and do something I think I'd absolutely innately known I was always going to do. I remember going to Santiago de Compostela, arriving by plane and just feeling a huge envy for the dusty pilgrims as they stumbled in from the Camino, and knew I wanted to be them. And so when I finally did walk a beautiful path known as the Old Way, a long version of the Old Way from Southampton to Canterbury, as set up by the British Pilgrimage Trust, I was realising something that I knew I really needed.
What was that?
Oh, it's such a simple and yet such a huge thing. It's a way to lose myself and then find myself again by setting out for a distant and significant shrine, whatever that might be. For me, it was Canterbury Cathedral, and the extraordinary power of that spiritual beacon. But the second pilgrimage I walked was with the destination of the maternity ward at the John Radcliffe in Oxford, where my daughter was about to have her first baby. In fact, she went into labour early and cut short my programme of walking from Prestatyn down Offa's Dyke. I only got to Hay on Wye before I suddenly had to conjure up a hire car.
I was going to say, I might want my mum to flag a car at that point if I needed her a bit quicker than the idea of making a pilgrimage out of it. But I love it all the same as an idea. Stephen, have you gone on pilgrimage? Have you undertaken a journey?
Not quite as adventurous as Emma's. I mean, that sounds amazing, but not really. I mean, I've been to places like Lourdes over the years, and of course I've been to Rome, but not really on pilgrimage. I was there either for vacation or to play a concert. But I think this idea of making an effort, I mean, Emma sort of began to touch on this, is part of it, isn't it? I mean, it's not just sort of going somewhere in a car. It's actually having blisters on the feet is part of the experience. And I suppose it's related to the idea of penance, that you actually are giving something up, like some of us, not me actually, have been giving up something during Lent.
And I suppose, Emma, I was just going to say quickly, if I may, to pick up on that, is it about... It's not about the arriving. Is it about the journey, or is it about both? Because so much of our lives is about completing or getting there as opposed to the process.
You're right. It's a protracted process, and the planning and the dredging and I had to tell everyone I was going to do that first walk because I was perfectly certain I was going to chicken out. I guess it's a slightly unusual thing, which is a self-imposed discipline of setting a really quite challenging task and fulfilling it and finding it to be the most liberating and exciting. I mean, it's the oldest thing, isn't it? Discipline is freedom. And focus is incredibly precious and not really much part of our lives now. So spending a whole month focused on a distant destination is a very strange thought. And certainly at the end of it, I felt about a foot taller and a very strong sense of something clarified, something achieved.
And I suppose that sense of place as well, Stephen,
Yes.
and using music as well, Stephen, you must have created some of those moments for people, even if they've got a lift to get there as opposed to walking there.
Oh, good as well. I do sort of think, going to a concert is a bit like a pilgrimage, isn't it? We can stay at home and listen online, but actually there is an effort involved in getting on the tube or getting in the car and going to a concert hall. And in fact, Wagner made this very much what he wanted to do in Bayreuth. He wanted people to see Bayreuth as a pilgrimage, that you had to get there. Yeah. And then when you were there, boy, it wasn't going to be necessarily comfortable, but at the end, you would have had some extraordinary numinous experience.
And the numinous experience at the end, Emma, is there ever, too much pressure on it? So you've been trying to get somewhere, and then you hope you may feel a certain way. I don't know if that's a slightly strange question, but when you've been working up towards something.
No, anticlimax is not available. It is a tremendous. It is an extraordinary climax, a very, very exciting moment. Walking into the cathedral precinct at Canterbury for the first time. I mean, it was extraordinary. I didn't know what it was going to feel like, because the walk itself had yielded so much excitement and pleasure. And Guy Hayward, who is the moving force, who is the British Pilgrimage Trust, in so many ways, is very sure that connecting with nature and walking, measuring your for yourself a chunk of country, connecting to it, connecting to the landscape as you walk towards something significant. There's an enormous potential for healing of sort of all kinds within that. It's a wonderful thing to do with other people as well as on your own. I'm not obsessed with doing it on my own. I just had to do that once.
Yes. Well, Emma Bridgewater, lovely to talk to you. Stephen Hough, very good to have you as well on the programme. Thank you for taking us somewhere else. And quite literally, if you do want to go somewhere else, I can also tell you at 7 minutes to 9 over on Radio 3, breakfast shortly. Simon Rattle conducting the Berlin Philharmonic. It will be there. And we should say, Sir Simon will be at the BBC Proms twice this year, conducting the London Symphony Orchestra and the Chinook as well. So a lot of links to what's about to be in your ears, Justin. I've set this up as beautifully.
Beautifully. In fact, why don't I just say don't go, because we have this. You may know that it's Shostakovich's Symphony No. 5, but could you play it from memory? Could you play it at all? The Aurora Orchestra is going to be playing it from memory as part of this year's Proms. 8 works